In this video, I'm going to be helping you ace your Class 12 CBSE chemistry exam. Basically, it's a collection of various tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, and hopefully that should help you. And yes, it feels like the CBSE exam is one of the most important exams that you could ever write, but you need to relax. You can do it. You got this. And hopefully, these different hacks or different tips help you. The first one is understanding before learning. There's one very important thing that I've always focused on in this channel. Basically, the moment you understand something, it automatically becomes very easy to learn. Do not memorize. There are cases where you have to memorize, you do not have a choice, but there are many more cases in chemistry, especially where the moment you understand a particular concept, you can apply it for everything else. So, a simple example would be understanding the various steps that you would follow to name a organic compound instead of memorizing each and every compound. This in turn would help you write the various chemical reactions without actually having to memorize the name. You would just be able to know which compound you're talking about, and that would definitely make it much more easy for you to write different chemical reactions. The second is back to the basics. Again, this one in class 11, there are certain concepts that are that play a very important role in understanding class 12 concepts. For organic chemistry, I would say the chapter about that gives you the idea of nomenclature, just all the basics that you learn over there is so important. Similarly, the chapter about the periodic table, I think it's classification of elements, so that chapter is so important that on like the moment you understand all those basic concepts, the class 12 is just like a continuation of whatever you learned in class 11. Similarly, if you think about the first chapter where you talk about the different ways of expressing concentrations, that is so helpful for the chapter solutions, which I know you do learn it in the beginning of the chapter, but I'd like to say that remember the basics are very important. Third is make detailed notes, and I know you probably have what MPC, math, physics, chemistry, and then you have another subject, and then you'll have to make notes for all of them, and then you have to also prepare for all these different exams that you have to appear in. I get it, it's a lot. So instead, if you can, make detailed notes. If you have a specific concept that you find really difficult, definitely make notes for that. It makes it so easy when you have notes in your handwriting. For some reason, it just works, especially for those very complicated or difficult to understand concepts. Definitely make detailed notes. But for the others, what you can do is this is a photo of my class 12 textbook. I mean, not when I was in class 12. I wish I could do I wish I would have done that, but I didn't. This is what I used to prepare for the videos that I put here. Basically, I did not want to make long notes. Instead, what I did was I had sticky notes and just added certain points that I thought would help me just get the whole concept as opposed to having to write a whole detailed notes. These were just at specific points. Like, for example, you have a graph over there, and I know the CBSE textbook does not have a lot of details on about the graph, but I wanted to give you more of that. So I have a whole sticky note just for the graph. So you could do that. You could just have sticky notes, or you could use a highlighter and just mark off the more important points, and that should help as well. The other thing I would like to say is that I have this whole playlist of different chapters. I think I did specific chapters, and do let me know if you want it for all of them, and I would be so happy to do it. Basically, I made notes, and each of these notes are attached in the description of each of these videos. So basically, I had just the discuss the notes in detail in each of these videos. So I mean, it's if you want those notes, feel free to use them. And remember, I know that it's a lot, but you could use this as another resource to help you with the whole process. The third is your textbook is the most important resource. And yes, sometimes it's difficult to comprehend what the textbook is trying to say, and I totally understand that, hence why I have notes. But in addition to the concepts that are given in your textbooks, the in-text questions, the example problems, and the exercises are so important. There are so many chapters, so many questions, totally get that. But if you can, you definitely should try and solve all these in-text questions and example problems. Most of the time, when I go back right now and look at old question papers, I do see that there are many of these questions which are in your textbooks. So definitely make sure that you solve these problems. And also, you do not have to solve it from the first step to the last step. If you can get it to a point where you know for sure that's the right direction, that you, basically the concept, as long as your concept is right and you're confident about that, that's what's more important. The next thing you can do is we on a weekly basis make sure, and I know you have numericals and physics as well, so make sure you solve a couple of problems just to get the mathematical calculations also in place, because I do honestly use a calculator, but you cannot do that in an exam hall. I totally get that, so you can just do this instead, where you just solve a couple of problems. It can be either physics or chemistry, either or, and basically that helps you gauge about gauge on get a gauge of how much time it takes for you to solve a particular problem. So remember, your textbook is very important as a resource. Third, look through all. I don't even know which point I'm on. I just said third. Look through the old question papers. Old question papers have a lot of information in them. It's just that it's not just about the questions they've asked, it's also the way they've asked it. So the more you familiarize yourself with these questions, the more easier it'll be for you to solve these in your exam. An exam hall is such a stressful situation. I would not want to do it ever again. But basically, it's so stressful. You're already anxious about, oh, yeah, is what am I going to even be writing in this exam? So what I would say is definitely go through old exam papers. Again, you can use the oh, you can just go through it, and for the most part, if you just look it up, you should be able to find old question papers with the solutions. So even if you are not actively studying, then you can just go through, understand the concepts that have been asked, the way these questions are being asked, and that should help you a lot. The next one is use the blueprint to your advantage. Definitely always remember, focus on the blueprint. Blueprint gives you so much information in just this one, just this table. Basically, okay, which are the chapters you're supposed to, focus on. And honestly, it was more easy to do that when you had more chapters. But now you just have 10, and I think this is 2023, 2024. And then just like classify, for example, solutions, electrochemistry, and chemical kinetics. Out of these chapters, these are all these are all chapters related to physical chemistry, and electrochemistry has 2 extra marks. So I would start there and then move on to either chemical kinetics or solutions. Similarly, you can just prioritize all of this, because if you look at these, so haloalkanes, haloarenes, alcohol, phenols, and ethers, aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic, amines, and biomolecules. Out of this, I would start with aldehydes, ketones, move on to biomolecules, and then amines, and all haloalkanes. Basically, this is not me telling you that, oh, you can avoid a chapter, but this is me telling you that you should have a priority order where you prepare these chapters for. That order could be dependent on the way they're being taught in your school, and that's fine too. But remember to use the blueprint to your advantage. The next one. So basically, I am going to talk about a little bit more about the specific branches of our, chemistry. The first one is organic chemistry, my favorite, which I realized after I finished class 12. Before that, I was as terrified as you probably are right now. So according to me, each of these chapters, these 4 chapters, especially from haloalkanes and haloarenes to amines, all of these chapters are divided into oh no, okay, into these into these sections. The first is the classification, the second is the nomenclature, third is the methods of preparation, fourth is physical properties, five chemical properties, six specific compounds. So first of all, classification for almost all of these, it's pretty similar. Okay, the only difference would be the fact that it has a different functional group. That's going to be, for the most part, will be the only difference. So what you can do is, instead of learning each of these chapters individually, you can instead learn them and group them together, and then that makes it a lot more easy for you to learn. The second is nomenclature. Class 11 nomenclature is so important. The moment you have all those concepts, if the moment you understand all of that, the same rule gets applied to it, to whichever compound you're given. And nomenclature questions are pretty common in your class 12 questions, in the exam. And what you can do, I also have a playlist just for nomenclature. So if you want, definitely check it out. I hope that helps. The third is methods of preparation and chemical properties. Basically, the reason I group them up together is because the method of preparation of one compound, of one, you know, uh, functional group could probably be the chemical property of an other functional group, or vice versa. So you try and see if there are relationships that you can use to your advantage. Okay, the fourth is physical properties. That's basically concepts, and you do have a similarity in trends happening, which you can definitely go through and like form, like make a table on your own and hopefully learn. The fifth is specific compound. The last one is specific compounds. I would definitely say that's something you have to learn. It's not something I can give you a tip for, but that's the last thing. Also, do let me know if you want a video where I discuss, these relationships. If that helps, I would love to do that. Uh, Another thing I did when I was in class 12 was have a huge chart, and I filled in with all the reactions. And that actually helped. I would just go through it on once a day, hopefully, and that really helped too. The next thing is named reactions. This is a very there are so many named reactions in your textbook. There are like 21 that you need to learn, and basically have a couple of videos that should help you in preparing for these named reactions. Not just that, I also have notes related to that, so I hope that helps. And yes, named reactions are very important, and they do come up in your exams. Next is physical chemistry. Physical chemistry, the videos for physical chemistry take the longest for me to make, just because I find it probably as difficult as you do. Basically, try and understand the various equations that come up, understand the various relationships that you observe between the various physical properties. And not just that, graphs are also equally important for physical chemistry. And it's easier to just understand the graph. And the moment you understand the graph, it's just easier to answer those questions. And they do come as well. Next is inorganic chemistry. This is the last one. And I do know I have a couple of videos related to the chemical classification for class 11, and I think I did not cover uh, a lot with relation to inorganic chemistry. And do let me know if you would like those videos. I'd be more than happy to post them. uh, Basically, you can do this is very important. Use this table to your advantage. All the trends that you observe are in this table, and the moment you understand these trends, you can just mark it off in your textbook, and that becomes your notes. So, and another thing is these basic properties, like all these properties are something that you learned in class 11. Again, back to the basics. Definitely, if you have the time, go back to your class 11 textbook, go through all of those things, because it automatically becomes very easy to understand this. You don't have to. I'm not telling you to go back to, oh yeah, you need to learn the Mendeleev's periodic table, the Daubenier strides. No, just about the various trends that are observed in the periodic table. That's what's important. I believe you had that in class 10 as well. So what I'm telling you is, go through these cons, have a very good idea as to what each of these terms mean, and that automatically makes it a lot more easier to understand these. And just Yeah, there are certain exceptions to all of these rules. Remember to learn those exceptions and those reasons as to why they show the exceptional characteristic. That should help as well. The last one is the structures. You have to definitely, I think, drawing it on a chart and looking at it helps. Not just that, trying understanding the structures also helps, like relating the concept of valency and oxidation states. If you have the time, definitely understand. If the moment you understand those concepts, it becomes easier to learn the structures of these compounds. And I know it's a lot, but if you either have to memorize the structure, or if you understood the concept of valency and oxidation state, it becomes all the more easy to write the structures. And I know you do not have p block elements this year, Betty. I remember me I having to learn all of this, and it was a lot, and I will not deny that. So all I can say is, do not let the stress get to you. It's fine. You can do it one day at a time. And if there's any sort of specific concepts and topics that you would really like a video on, let me know. And also definitely interact with the video. The more you interact, the more it gives me, basically, like, subscribe and share, and that helps me with actually wanting to post these videos. So I hope all these tips helped, and all the best.